Hey everyone, it's Audrie, and I hope you're all doing well. So this video is all about how I kind of deal with creative ruts and those spaces of time where I just feel stuck. I don't feel good about anything I've filmed or photographed or edited. And these tips I'm going to share are how I kind of make my way back from that. First, and this is probably the most obvious one, is to take a break. Personally, I think it's impossible to be in a constantly creative state of mind. I just don't work that way. I go through periods of time where I have to step back from something I'm working on, mostly because I start to overanalyze and pick apart all my mistakes or shortcomings. I have to remind myself not to force it, otherwise I get burnt out, and that tends to extend the length of whatever mental block I'm having. Another tip that I have to remind myself to follow is to stop putting myself down. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, but usually when I'm in the middle of a rut, I tend to sabotage myself. I want to say a lot of that has to do with the fact that when it comes to any creative pursuit, there's really no correct or right way to be creative. Each and every person has a different experience when consuming certain types of art, and when I'm struggling with my confidence, I often come to ask myself, am I even a creative person? Should I even be doing this? Can this even be considered art? Those kinds of thoughts are toxic and certainly play a part in holding back creativity. Throwing in a fun tip here, and this always sparks at least a tiny bit within me, and that's to add music to any situation. Whether I'm working or kind of planning out my process, listening to music always puts me in a more thoughtful state where I can reflect and center myself. And when it comes to my video editing, cutting my footage to my background music is really what helps to drive that process when I'm stuck. I've talked about this before, but I get all of my music from Epidemic Sound, which is the sponsor of this video. If I'm feeling particularly bored with my editing, I switch gears, start to focus on finding the right music, looking by genre, mood, or if I like a particular song, there's a button where I can find similar options. There's over like 30,000 music tracks and something like 60,000 sound effects. It's all high quality and unlimited to use for YouTube and other social channels you want to use it for with a subscription plan. The personal plan is $15 a month for that, but if you're a freelancer and need something for commercial work, it's $49 a month. I'll leave a link in the description so you can try it out for free for 30 days, and your content will be cleared for that time frame, and you can just cancel anytime if you want to. If you need any song recommendations, I have my own album on there with some of my favorites at the moment, and I'd love for you to check it out. The next thing is one of those things that's way easier said than done, and it's to not be emotional about constructive criticism. Now, I'm not talking about hate or even unsolicited advice, but rather feedback from other people that you trust to tell you the truth and that genuinely want to see you succeed. Feedback can be a good thing. Sometimes when I'm working on a video and I've been staring at it forever and I've watched it a million times, there's a point where I lose the ability to be objective. I grow tired with what I've created and I need an outsider's perspective. Also, there should never be a time in your life where you're just done learning and that's it. I try to be open to those willing to teach me, because how else can I expect to get better if I'm not willing to learn? This frame of mind leads to the next tip, which is to get inspiration from people not necessarily related to your creative field. A good example for me would be this Venezuelan artist, LiminalME, that I commissioned a while ago to make an art piece for this bare wall in my living room. I can't really draw or paint or anything like that, but I'm very inspired by people that can, which in turn gives me motivation. While looking to others can be a good source of inspo, in addition to this thought process would be to stop comparing yourself to others within your creative field. Sometimes I get asked if I know any YouTube channels similar to mine or accounts with a similar aesthetic. And to be honest, I try to stay away from consuming content like that regularly because I know that that will lead me to a place where I just feel less than. I think it goes without saying that there is a competitive nature to feeling or being successful. It's difficult to work at your own pace if you're focusing on how much faster someone else is, how much better other people are doing. So it's best to remove yourself from that situation if you can. Something else I like to do from time to time is to inject some spontaneity into my workflow when things start to turn into a routine. Not to say that having a routine is a bad thing, but sometimes planning things out to the very last detail just sucks the fun out of everything. Experiment, try new things. I've been doing a lot of TikTok lately. I've been shooting film. It's okay to move on or away from stuff that just doesn't bring you inspiration anymore, stuff that doesn't spark your interest anymore, and you can always go back to it if you want. Another way I turn to bring my spark back is to change my scenery, but not necessarily by even going outside or traveling, however much I wish I could. Sometimes it's as simple as rearranging my furniture, adding plants to my windowsill, or more recently, adding a gallery wall to this empty space in my home. Apart from being aesthetically pleasing to my eye, this also helps me prepare for a change in perspective, leads me to thinking about things differently and in ways that I hadn't really thought of before. Second to the last tip, get some sleep. There have been times when I've had deadlines and stayed up all night, and there is a point where I become so exhausted, I can no longer function or think straight. I have to stop. Sometimes if I can't sleep, I'll make myself a nighttime drink and I'll go at it again once I'm well rested. Last of all, and probably the most important piece of advice, don't give up. And this is coming from someone that has a defeatist attitude. I can definitely empathize with having feelings of failure or even wanting to quit before you even start in avoidance of disappointment. But if I've learned anything about working in a creative industry, it's that creative skills develop over time, with experience, and depending on how much work you're willing to put in. I hope you enjoyed hearing what helps me through my creative blocks and that it gives you a little something to think about if you're in one too. Okay.